Okay, today we're going to talk about the patch notes for the changes that came out for Overwatch today, because there were some fairly large changes that, hopefully, will improve quite a few heroes, because it's basically all targeted at heroes that are either bad or not currently played very much, so hopefully it improves their lot in life. Before we talk about that, though, let's draw attention to one thing real quick. Xbox One PS4 player reporting has been enabled. It only took us a year. It's disgraceful that this took so long to get to the point where console players could report people. But, you know, whatever. We got there in the end, at least, and that's the important thing. So, hero changes. Junkrat, not very good hero. Fairly big changes. Can now hold 2 concussive mines, which gives him some consistency to his ability to kill people, because it's fairly easy to chuck a mine at somebody and explode it next to their head, and then that kills the person, because the mine does a lot of damage. Now he should basically always have a mine, instead of having to wait for its quite long cooldown every time he uses it, and this does make him quite a lot more mobile, because now he can actually double jump without needing to set it up way ahead of time. Now he can just do it. So he's, in general, a lot more mobile, and it adds some consistency to his ability to kill people, which has been an issue Junkrat has always had. He's always done a lot of damage, but his ability to consistently kill people has always been quite low, so this does help with that, with some added benefits. The other thing, Tyre's movement speed has been increased by 30%. That's quite a lot. Like, the Tyre moves quite fast now and is quite a bit harder to kill. Also, there's no time limit when wall climbing. I have seen some clips where some very not too okay things have happened, where I've seen one on Iconvold where it goes attacking spawn up the house at the front, vaults to the tower, goes up the tower, and then lands on top of all the people. So that's pretty insane, but not exactly a consistent maneuver, I'd have to imagine. So, you know, nice and all, but the movement speed is quite big. Because another issue that Junkrat has always had is that he doesn't really have an ultimate. He had an ultimate when the game first came out. Junkrat used to routinely get play of the game because people were bad at killing Junkrat's Tyre. Then Junkenstein's Revenge happened, and everyone got a lot better at killing Tyres after that, as well as the community just kind of getting better. So, now, it's very rare you see Junkrat's Tyre not get broken, and if it doesn't, it usually only gets like 1 person, maybe 2. Not exactly a fantastic ultimate. So, maybe this is enough to actually make Junkrat a viable hero, which would be incredible. Worth noting that the D.Va defense matrix changes have not gone into the live yet, because they only just went on the PTR, so it'd be a little weird if they immediately went to live like 3 days later. But when those also come through to live, that's also going to make Junkrat a lot better, because one of the things that makes it very difficult for Junkrat to do anything is that D.Va just eats all of his bombs and makes it really hard for him to do anything. So that will probably also help Junkrat a lot. So maybe Junkrat finally gets to be a good hero. Wouldn't that be incredible? I hope he does. Contrary to popular belief, I actually quite like Junkrat. Used to play a lot of him, but then eventually I realized he wasn't very good. So, hopefully he actually gets somewhere now. So, changes to Orisa. I was of the opinion that Orisa was fine. She was quite specific in what she was good at, but she was good at it. I didn't think she really needed any changes. I thought it was more of a community issue, but she got buffed anyway. So now her projectiles are just 20% faster, which is quite a lot. And they were already pretty fast, so, you know, that's pretty good. Makes her just more consistent at longer ranges, which is good. And then they also made her barrier bigger and changed the shape slightly so that it covers from below better. And in a rare moment of professionalism, I actually went and got a screenshot of what that looks like ahead of time. Here it is. So previously, it would cut off like so. And now it actually goes quite a bit further down. It is also larger. It's visibly larger. Like, the first time you see one in front of you, you're like, damn, that's big now. You can actually sort of stand in it, and it feels like you're actually safe, because you're actually kind of like standing in it rather than just kind of behind it. And now, like, this is better because you can actually put it on a payload and it isn't, like, completely useless. Things like that. It's better on slopes and everything. So this is nice quality of life stuff here, and then this is actually a quite beefy change. So, Orisa, I thought she was fine anyway. Now, hopefully, people sort of accept that she's fine and actually play her, because I think it was more of a community issue than anything else. So, hopefully, Orisa actually gets played. Roadhog, take a breather, can now be used while moving, and damage taken while healing has been reduced by 50%. So, this doesn't really fix the issue that Roadhog has, because survivability isn't really Roadhog's issue, because he's already fairly hard to kill as long as you aren't just standing in ridiculous places. The issue is that Roadhog is just a non-entity. Like, he doesn't really do anything, right? Like, I keep trying to say Junkrat. Roadhog doesn't do any damage anymore. He does to, like, Doomfist and, Winston and, like, other tanks, but if you're gonna go with that reasoning, why don't you just pick Reaper, you know? He brings almost nothing utility-wise other than being a form of hard CC, but not a very good one. And his ultimate is good at stopping and engage, but there are lots of ultimates that are good at stopping engages. So, this doesn't help. It makes him more survivable, but that wasn't the problem. The problem isn't that it's easy to kill Roadhog, the problem is that Roadhog himself brings almost nothing to a team himself. So I don't see this change actually doing anything to Roadhog, because, like, it seems ridiculous, right? Because you think about it like, whoa, he's just moving around and you, like, can't kill him while he's taking a breather. I mean, unless you were like Reaper, you couldn't kill him while he was taking a breather anyway. And, like, yeah, he can move now. At full speed, by the way. This isn't slowed. So, like, yeah, that's cool, but Roadhog himself is still pretty useless, so I don't see this making any change at all to Roadhog's viability. Widowmaker got some changes that are pretty cool, like her grappling hook reduced by 4 seconds. That's a lot. Like, a 4-second reduction in a cooldown is a lot. That's a lot. That got cut down by a third. That's a pretty big change. And then now she gains sight on people through walls after they've been affected by her Venom Mine, but only for Widowmaker, not for her teammates. So that's cool. Venom Mine actually does something, which it doesn't really do right now. There has always been an issue with Widowmaker where Widowmaker herself is quite good, as long as you can play Widowmaker. Obviously, she is a high skill cap character being a sniper. But she basically didn't have any abilities, right? Like, her ultimate's really good. Don't get me wrong, you have to kind of use it correctly, but her ultimate is really good. But she basically doesn't have any abilities at present, so maybe this makes a difference to Widowmaker. It does make her stronger because it's objectively a buff. The problem is, though, that it's not really that Widowmaker herself was weak, it's just that the Widowmaker draws a very negative reaction when people pick her. So, unless you're about to change the opinion of 80% of the player base, probably isn't going to make any difference what you do to Widowmaker. So that's all the hero changes. So there was some competitive changes that are worth talking about. So the length of the competitive season has been reduced to 2 months, formerly 3 months. We have seen that the Overwatch team is not very willing to make changes to the game mid-season. They tend to save them all for between seasons. So hopefully this means they will make major updates to the game more frequently. Balance changes, that is. And hopefully that makes the meta less stagnant, as it feels like it has been this season. But if they still just stick to sort of the same schedule of like 3 months or when changes happen, and then maybe some small changes in between, probably doesn't effectively make any difference. But hopefully this means they're more willing to balance the game more frequently, which would be nice. So, the King of the Hill maps now in competitive are 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 5. So they work exactly the same as they do in quick play now. The reasoning given for this previously was King of the Hill maps, on average, are very long games, which is true. I don't think I've ever seen a King of the Hill game that was less than 20 minutes. They tend to be very, very long games. I have played a King of the Hill game that took 50 minutes to finish. It was absolutely ridiculous. And on average, I'd say they're probably like 25-minute experiences. And it feels really bad to lose a very long game. So, it's a lot shorter now. I personally like King of the Hill more than any other game type. So, I'm personally upset about this because it means I'll be playing less King of the Hill. But this is probably a positive change overall because, yeah, most people don't really want to sit there for like 25 minutes and then maybe lose the game at the end of it. Statistically, you have a 50% chance to lose the game, so, you know. Competitive points, you get less at the end of a season, but more from individual games now. Periodic skill rating decay has been reduced. You lose less points per day now, and you have to play less games. Makes effectively no difference to a very large portion of the community. Like 85-ish% of the community. We don't know exact numbers, but for most people, this is not going to make any difference at all. I like it because I'm a lazy bum, but doesn't make any difference to most other people. So, players who place in... Previously, if you were going to drop out of a tier, you had to be in Masters or higher. Now you can drop out of any tier if you go below the minimum requirement. Which, hopefully, will make people actually play the fucking video game for once in their lives, because god damn is this community just seemingly getting worse by the day. People less and less willing to play games and more willing to give up, so maybe now people who get in, because this is very common, people get into whatever they wanted to be in for that season, and then they can't drop out of it, and then they're like, well, whatever, who gives a shit, not even gonna try anymore. So hopefully that stops that happening. Because heavens know we don't need more excuses for people to be assholes in this video game. Some changes to how SRs decided at the beginning of a season, which, I mean, cool. Doesn't really make that much difference overall. Feels a little better, I guess, but... yeah, so, basically, people were really upset that, certain heroes were able to get more SR, seemingly, than other heroes. I personally am of the belief that this was largely an exaggeration and didn't matter to most of the community. But low win rate heroes, such as Torbjorn and Bastion, were sort of seen as easy ways to gain SR because of the performance-based rating system, where it takes your stats and compares them against the average for that SR, and then dictates your SR game based off of that. So it was seen as if those heroes had a very low win rate, it was seen as a way to climb ranks faster and sort of exploit the system. The thing is, though, if these heroes have very low win rates, there's a reason for that, so who cares? Because if you're like the one dude that can play Bastion and actually win a game, who cares? You should probably be able to get the SR for that, honestly. And I don't think this actually made any difference at all to, like, 90% of the community. But there was an outrage about it, so maybe this has been changed now. Yeah. I don't personally care. There was a very odd amount of, like, hate towards Mercy mains this season, because it was seen as a way to game the system also, because the Mercy compared against another Mercy is basically only one stat currently. So, it was seen as an easy way to sort of boost yourself with Mercy as well. The problem with that line of reasoning, of course, is that it's harder to win a game as Mercy because you have less direct input over the game. So, who cares also? You had to probably be better on average you had to already be pretty good to game the systems in the ways that people were upset about, so you probably deserved the SR from gaming the system because you were actually able to do so, which most people were not able to do. Your average man John Tim over there who is in silver, is not going to be able to game the system by picking Torbjorn and benefiting off his low win rate, because John Tim also has a low win rate. So who cares? Really, whatever. Basically, the community picks a thing out of the hat to be upset about that particular moment. Cause, here's a, you know, people were really upset, with Roadhog, and they wanted Roadhog to get nerfed. And Roadhog got nerfed, and then a lot of people were upset about Roadhog getting nerfed because they actually picked Roadhog, and, they actually, benefited from Roadhog. But, so the issue they had was that Roadhog did too much damage, and he was a tank, so he wasn't meant to do damage. But now I've seen almost nothing negative said about D.Va's changes, actually. Very minor things every now and then, but majority of people are pretty happy with D.Va's changes. So D.Va is allowed to do damage, but Roadhog is not, because, hooking people out of position and one-shotting them is unfair. But, D.Va getting on your face and just killing you with missiles is perfectly fine, presumably, but they'll be upset when that happens as well. You see, that's how the community is. I have a very low opinion of the Overwatch community. I don't know if that's coming across at all. And then the calculation system for personal performance contributions has been improved. Same bag. So, and then the last thing of note is defensive spawn times will now slowly increase earlier in the battle when the attacking team has more players on the objective. 2CP is still going to be trash, and it's not going to make any appreciable difference, probably, unless the scaling is dramatically different suddenly. So, probably you won't notice. I doubt I'll notice unless it makes a significant difference. So there was one bug. One bug fix that stood out. Well, there's two, actually. So the first one that stood out was the bug where if you get knocked out of D.Va's mech, sometimes the black screen appears while you're just walking around as D.Va and kind of gets in the fucking way. That's apparently been fixed, so that's good news. And I didn't know this was happening, but apparently there was a bug that prevented the area of effect circle for Doomfist Meteor Strike from being visible to all players. So that's pretty big. That probably shouldn't have been allowed, so that's a good thing that got fixed, I'd say. And then nothing else was super interesting to me. So, in conclusion, hopefully Junkrat's good now. Maybe he gets a turn to be good. Orisa was already good in my opinion, now she's better, probably gets played a lot more now. Roadhog is still not in the video game, and Widowmaker got some changes that will ultimately make no difference, because the issue with Widowmaker is not Widowmaker, it's how people view Widowmaker and Widowmaker players. Koth is shorter on average now, which is a net positive for the community at large, I would say, and hopefully Blizzard is going to balance the game more frequently with the reduced season length. So, that's the patch notes. So, let me know what you think. Oh, they put Deathmatch in the arcade now as well, but like, who cares? I don't give a shit about the arcade. Get back to me when they put it on comp. Which they probably are going to eventually, because everyone seems to really like Deathmatch. So let me know what you think of the changes. Do you like it? Do you like that Junkrat got buffed? Probably the majority of people will be like, yes, I do like that Junkrat's getting buffed. Did you think Orisa was fine? Do you think Roadhog is still bad? We know what everyone thinks about Widowmaker. And hopefully this works. Let me know what you think about the patch notes. So thank you very much for watching if you did. And, yeah. Get back to me. Take care. Answers on a postcard.